Thank you, Suleiman, for such a warm introduction. Okay, guys, just before I start, I want you all to pay attention. Just close your eyes for a moment with me and put all that you heard on one side. Because what I'm going to tell you today requires a lot of your attention and I don't want to lose you. So for a minute, just close your eyes and put all that aside. Follow me. Okay, now you can open it. I'm going to pull up a very crazy image, and what you're going to do now is to try solve this thing. Many of you would be saying, Muhammad, you just had a boring maths class and you're putting up this equation again. Or many elders among you would be saying, we lost maths when we were in 8th grade and now you're bringing it to us again. The same kind of situation happens with me also. And it is very natural for all of you, because let's accept it. Maths is that boring, maths is that thing that we all should hate. It deserves hatred. It really does, because just think about it. It takes away all the jubilance from your life. It takes away all the pleasures from your life. And what does it give you in return? What it gives is such boring equations. However, the real problem occurs when someone among us like Shamaim, who are so good in maths that they get a lot better grades than us. And we kind of feel, I'm not that good in maths. So these people who are that good in maths are actually creating the difference and pushing us to be good at it when we ourselves don't want it. And if you don't find such people in your vicinity or in your friendship zone, there are people existing outside that zone. There is Albert Einstein, there is Isaac Newton, such heroic examples of people who were so good in maths. So even if you don't find such people in your friendship, or you have cleared your friendship zone from such people, you're going to find them anyway. So what I'm going to tell you today is that you don't have to fear maths the way you do. And this situation does not apply to only maths. It can apply to any area of life. Even if you want to be good at literature, you want to be good at poetry, you want to be good at science, natural science, or anything you want to be good at, it does apply to that. Because these people actually have an interest in learning maths. And I'm going to talk about developing that angle of interest that all of you can develop. So where does this interest come out of? Before bringing to you my point of view with this thing, I'm going to recall and reflect upon a point of view of my inspiration, and he's a very famous counselor and a teacher in Lahore. What he describes as an interest, he says that if you want to identify your interest, you should seek things in which you get respect and things that you can do without monetary gain. So you see, he has set two standards for things that you are interested in. What are those standards? Firstly, you're going to get respect in it. And secondly, you won't be limited by the monetary gain, or in our terms, the gain that we get out of transcripts or good grades. So you won't be limited by that. Okay, when I was going through my experience of finding my interest, what I did, when I analyzed this situation, I found that these two standards are a result of having an interest. And they're not the source of interest themselves. And how are they not? So firstly, let's talk about that monetary gain aspect and the aspect of having good grades or transcript. So for coming out of that monetary gain, what I was actually doing, I was psychologically pressurizing myself to do even things that I was not forced to do. For example, when I'm learning maths and I have the syllabus in front of me, I want to make sure that I learn even those concepts that are not in my syllabus directly. So by that I would satisfy myself the way that I'm not limiting myself to that monetary gain. So, but the problem here is that we are actually psychologically pressurizing ourselves. Even ourselves don't want that in the first place. So we are pressurizing ourselves instead. And secondly, in terms of respect, when do we get respect? We get respect when we do things better than others. And to do things better than others, we need to do them good. So you see that these both standards are not the source of interest, rather interest. So where does this interest come? Interest comes out of curiosity. When you're so curious about something, you ask so many questions about it and you get interested in it. For example, if there is a table, you would ask, okay, how come does this table come over here? How is it made? How is it standing? And all of those questions will reflect upon the thing that you're curious about it in the first place. Okay, so we've got this far that to be an expert in any field, whether maths, literature, poetry, we need to have an interest in it. For interest, we need to be curious. For being curious, we need to ask questions. All of these things don't actually answer the underlying problem. The real reason why we have not been able to develop an interest and expertise in things that we wanted to. The real problem actually is, in my opinion and from my experience, is that we seek answers too early. We seek explanations without guessing about them. And that is the reason we have not been able to develop an interest and expertise in these things. Just think about the time when in 8th grade or any other time you had a very difficult maths assignment or literature assignment. What did you do when you were not able to figure that out? Definitely you would have turned to your teacher, or you would have opened the last page of your book to see answers or solutions right away. You did not struggle yourself with that problem. If you had struggled it, you would have had a strong interest in maths. So yes, this is the problem, and we all face it, that whenever we are struggling with something, we just directly seek answers, we seek shortcuts. And the problem with this thing is that when we seek shortcuts, we are actually sacrificing and losing the delight that we should have had if we had struggled through. For example, let's consider the example of Newton. When Newton saw an apple falling, and if a slate with all his theories written over it would also have fallen with it, would Newton ever be delightful that he developed this theory? Certainly not. Because he would have gotten the answers even without wanting them with such intensity of desire. And that is the same thing we all are doing right now. We are losing ourselves that delight that we should have had. Now, let's talk about how can we get that delight? How can we be good at things we want to be? There is a simple solution to it, and very easy. Just start guessing. There is a word conjecture for it, guesswork. You need to start guessing for things that you don't have an idea about. I say that guess is the next yes. Because when you guess over and over again, you get wrong, but through wrongs, you finally get to the right answer. So, guesswork is very important, but for guesswork you need one thing that I'm saying. And that thing is to have a fundamental idea of concepts. For example, the equation that I pulled over was about tan x. So if anyone has an idea, tan x is sine over x, and when you break tan x down into fundamental concepts, you can easily solve it. And it is very, very inspiring to see that God has made the world in such a way that He has set patterns, but He hasn't revealed those patterns to us. Just consider this thing. Now this is a flower, and He set all those patterns in it, but He didn't say that this shape is made out of these particular patterns. And it is upon our curiosity that we find such patterns. And when we do find such patterns, we get an immense amount of delight from them. And that delight is what makes us interested in this thing. There is nothing big about Einstein, Newton, or any other great person. The only thing that they did was that they relied upon their ability to guess. I hope you really guess from now onwards and understand the importance of the thing that guess is the next yes. Thank you very much.